If you haven't been receiving style tips from the clothing experts at Peter Millar, you are missing out. Look, if you enjoy golf like me, you know the name. If you don't, you should, because Peter Millar is all about quality, value, and style. It's the most comfortable clothing you'll ever wear. Right now, I'm wearing one of their performance sports shirts. What you'll love about these Peter Millar sports shirts is that they offer so much comfort and style no matter what you're doing. It looks like a button-down dress shirt, but feels as comfortable as a t-shirt. Plus, they are so easy to take care of. They don't need to be dry cleaned. They're machine wash and dry. They won't shrink, and you don't have to iron them. Total bonus. You'll never have to worry about what to wear on any occasion. Peter Millar is the go-to clothing for vacation, work events, golf course, and even working out. Put it on in the morning and never look out of place. You'll always have the right look. They are great for the golf course because they even have the sun protection built into the shirt. The performance sports shirt I'm wearing is the most comfortable shirt I've ever worn. And you'll say the same thing about everything you wear from Peter Millar. Right now, you can head over to petermillar.com/wingo to check out some of my Peter Millar favorites. Be sure to use my link and you'll receive complimentary shipping plus a free hat. That's Peter Millar, MILLAR.com/wingo. petermillar.com/wingo. Listen up, people. We got a big favor to ask, and we promise it won't take too much of your time. You know our show is supported by some fantastic sponsors, right? Well, we'd love to hear your feedback. Head to ESPNpodcaststudy.com and fill out a short, anonymous survey. That's it. We swear. No more. Again, that's ESPNpodcaststudy.com.
This is the best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Good Monday morning, everybody. Welcome into another edition of Golic and Wingo. Glad you're with us on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. We are presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. So, simple question. Did you guys have a good weekend?
Yes, it was a good weekend. Started off Friday. Remember our winner, our V Foundation winner for Jennifer was here.
Yep.
And her and the friend she brought, they came over to Mike's house for the barbecue. And we learned you can't play can jams, Mike. You and Allie stink.
That was a rough day of lawn games for us there.
It was. I was great at Jennifer and I were great at cornhole. We were 2-0.
Although I have to say the boards we used way too much bounce.
Let me ask you a question.
Suspect.
Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Did both teams use the same board?
Yes.
Okay, then.
No.
I'm
not saying that. All I'm saying is I think next time we won't want the trampoline effect.
Sounded like an excuse.
No, not taking an excuse.
Sounded like you broke your hand or something.
Did you? Well, we'll get to that a little bit later. I did have a soft cast that I was playing most of cornhole with. So we all had a good weekend.
Yeah.
But you have a loose understanding of the rules of cornhole at best.
What are you talking about? Like golf well?
Me and Allie will explain it to you. Oh, yeah. You golfing well is an entirely new revelation,
So
Trey.
I don't even want to get into that because I played so poorly yesterday. I can't handle him being a good golfer right now. But let's be clear about one thing. Nobody had a better weekend than Alex Ovechkin.
No. Let me tell you,
he is running with the Bulls.
I read somebody tweeted at one point, "Hey, act like you've been there before." And before I could respond, SVP gave the proper response, basically saying, "Are you nuts?
Yeah, shut up."
You know, the first one they've won, and you enjoy it, and that dude is enjoying it to the absolute fullest.
Again, one of the greatest things about when the Stanley Cup Finals are over is the journey the Cup takes in the offseason, because every player gets it for a day and a half span. I remember when the Rangers won, it went to every downtown bar in New York City. It ended up in the bottom of a pool somewhere. And, Alex Ovechkin slept with the Stanley Cup.
It's incredible.
Among the many other things he's done this weekend.
Nobody ever gets a do-over with a first pitch. And Alex Ovechkin got a do-over with the first pitch.
That's how good life is right now in our nation's capital. Yeah. He's rolling in it right now. Although I got to say, Trey, shocked. Shocked that was where you went coming off this weekend, because when I heard pleasure and things going well, I thought for sure this is going to be a justified horse.
That's also true. I was going on the human element, but let's be clear.
It's a very human element to that. I mean, that's one place where horses and us collide.
Nobody is going to live a better life going forward than Justified.
We'll get to
Triple
that.
Crown winner, which we will get to in a minute. By the way, it's also, I'm calling this today Devastation Monday.
Right?
Because we thought we might have a Game 5 in the NBA Finals. No. We thought we might be talking about a Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Finals. No. And now we have the possibility of Cleveland being devastated again with what LeBron is going through, which we will get into. No. And we might have devastation in Anaheim as well for our guy, Shohei Ohtani. So, listen, as Mondays are usually bad, this Monday could be really bad on a lot of levels for a lot of people. Although it's revolutionary for me.
Oh, God.
Here it is. You know, I see Junior all the time wearing the old iPod buds.
Yeah, the earbuds.
And I decided, well, I'll try it just to see how the other half
something
lives.
in each year. How
and I thought,
I
thought maybe it might help me understand his scorching hot takes and conspiracy theories.
Oh, that's
why
you did it?
I'm trying to get into the mind of Junior. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but I'm trying. Do you like him so far? The two earbuds? Oh, geez. Game changer.
Wow. Trey's literally just been sitting around in the studio all morning before the show just muttering, this is a game changer to himself. And don't worry, Trey, people on Twitter love this, so you're going to get a lot of support.
This I'm sure, I'm sure they'll be all over this in a very positive way, because Twitter is nothing but a positive river of positive thoughts and happiness. It's never a torrent of negativity in any way, shape, or form. All right, let's start. Oh, the music sounds so much better through 2 ears. I can't even begin to tell you.
Unbelievable.
The Mets avoided a sweep and snapped an 8-game losing streak by topping the Yankees 2-0 on Sunday Night Baseball. Seth Lugo tossed 6 dominant innings in a stellar spot start.
Yeah, he had a big night, no doubt about it. For the Yankees, Aaron Judge sat out the game. In the Friday game, what was it, sliding into second? He jammed his thumb, and he stayed in that game. He played again Saturday, but held him out Sunday because day was going to be an off day, so put 2 together for him. But the Mets, avoid that sweep. But Yankees still up on top of that division. They've been battling back and forth with Boston, while Mets 7.5 back, and we just their pitching staff, again, as we've talked about, injured time and time again. So it was nice to see a good outing by a pitcher for the Mets that hasn't been hurt yet.
Yeah, they brought Judge in the 8th inning to pinch hit to try and see if they could manufacture something at that point. And I mean, you look on the other side, Luis Severino. Great night for him. Yeah. They just couldn't get anything in support of him there. So for the Mets, it's the story of their season. This has been a roster that has 17 different guys on the DL at some point. It's hard to go out there and win at this level without it. And listen, if you're the Yankees now, people are going to talk a lot about them potentially looking at DeGrom and Syndergaard. Right. The Mets aren't going to deal one of those guys across town to the Yankees.
No, that's never happening.
They're going to have to look elsewhere, but it was fun to talk about for a weekend.
Well, the other thing that's interesting in classic Mets, even when they win a game and snap their 8-game losing streak, they release Adrian Gonzalez. I mean, it's just been a disaster since he got there, mired in a 1-for-19 slump.
Yeah, good thing for them is they were only paying like $450,000 of it. The rest of the $21 million was being paid by Atlanta.
Yikes.
Oh my God.
Although for the Yankees, good news in the fact your record through 60 games right now. Saw this. The Yankees, who I think are 42-19, something around there, but their record through 60 games had been the exact same as the Houston Astros of last season through 60 games and the Chicago Cubs of 2016 through 60 games. So in predictive stats, they are your eventual 2018 World Series champions.
And this is why I wear the headphones the way Junior does, because I'm with you. All right. Dustin Johnson is going to head in to the U.S. Open this week at Shinnecock as the number 1 ranked golfer in the world, thanks to his dominant win and a hole out for an eagle, a 4-under 66 on Sunday to win the St. Jude Classic, his second PGA Tour victory this year and 18th of his career.
Now, the only thing you would say is, is this like the par 3 tournament at the Masters?
Yeah, a lot of people take off the week before the Open.
Do not win the par 3 at the Masters because nobody has ever won that and then won the Masters. No player has ever won the U.S. Open after winning the previous week's PGA Tour event. So that basically puts Dustin Johnson, who has the best odds now, the betting bets, to win. He's out. The world's top-ranked player, and Dustin Johnson now regained, he's number 1 in the world.
Right.
World's top-ranked player has not won the U.S. Open. The world's top-ranked player has not won the U.S. Open since Tiger Woods in 2008 at Torrey Pines. And in fact, the only other top-ranked player to win a major in the last 10 years was 2014 PGA Championship, and that was Rory. So being ranked number 1 isn't doing a whole lot of good in the majors.
Yeah, sounds like it's kind of working against him. Good news is if you're into hitting fairways, that'll actually kind of help you in this upcoming tournament, and DJ seemed to have a pretty solid job of doing that in this last tournament.
I might as well play the U.S. Open then the way I was hitting fairways. Seriously?
Yeah, it was that bad? He played that well?
It was night and day, Trey.
My new Tommy
I've never
Armour
seen anything
clubs.
like it.
Tommy Armour, you.
I can't handle this.
Smoking
I can't
the ball.
handle this.
Was I in every fairway?
Let me tell you what, Trey, if he brings this to Pinehurst, this is going to be very unsettling. Because for me, I don't care. I know I'm bad at golf. I know you spend a lot of time with this. You fancy yourself a pretty good golfer. You enjoy it. If you get shown up by him at Pinehurst, just know that is going to be the rest of the summer of shows.
It'll be the rest of my life. I'll have to deal with that shit. Because I couldn't hit a fairway. I hit 4 fairways yesterday. Now, everything else was great. I couldn't hit a fairway to save my life. If you show up and start out driving me,
it's going to happen.
That may be the end of me in every way, shape, or form. Well, there are guys that are good at something, and then there's Rafa Nadal. Rafa Nadal has now won 11 French Open championships as he takes down 7-seeded Dominic Thiem in straight sets, 6-4, 6-3, 6-2.
So Trey, you're more of a tennis guy than I am. Now, I heard somebody say this, and I had to scoff a little bit, that said Nadal is now one of the greatest clay court players of all time. And I thought to myself,
now?
Wait a minute. What, one of?
He was about, let me go this way. Yeah. He became the greatest clay court player about 6 French Open titles ago.
I mean,
what are you doing, man?
I couldn't jump in right away because I'm saying, wait a minute. Okay, I'm not a great historian of tennis, but I'm trying to think. I know Margaret
Do you know
Court.
who said this?
No, I don't.
Okay. I know that person needs to stop talking about tennis forever.
Because we talk about 11 wins at this tournament. Yeah. Margaret Court won the Australian Open 11 times, so she's right up there. And who was it? Martina Navratilova of Wimbledon 9 times. Yeah. And some of the greats have obviously multiple times winning these events. But I thought, wait a minute, that can't be right.
No.
He's got to be the greatest clay court player of all time. Dude is he's 11-0. He's played in 11 finals and won all 11 times.
Yeah, this is one of the unique parts of tennis is playing surfaces kind of vary. You have different Major League Baseball parks. You've got different surfaces in college football and different, the way different grounds are kept in the NFL. But in tennis, it seems so stark to where you can have this kind of otherworldly dominance that's so far weighted on this one surface. It's so strange because now he's 3 behind Roger Federer.
Correct.
In majors, Grand Slams, all time at 17 as opposed to 20, and yet it's so heavily weighted in this side that I can't help but think that skews perception, right?
Absolutely. A lot of people will point to the fact that up until the last couple of years, Federer actually had a losing record against Rafa on all surfaces, but he now has the winning edge on hard courts. But to your point, I mean, Roger has won 8 Wimbledons. That's his big one. But he has 12 in the other 3 majors. 11 of 17 have come on the clay court surfaces. That means he's only won the other ones. The other 3 majors, he's got 6 of them. So you're right, it is skewed so differently. But here's the really interesting thing. 2017, Roger wins the Australian. Rafa wins the French. Federer wins Wimbledon. Rafa wins the U.S. Open. 2018, Roger wins the Australian. Rafa wins the French. We're setting up to a lather, rinse, repeat here again for the top 2 players in the world in tennis.
And I'm going to ignore the buzzer again and say the old guys.
Happy Monday.
The quote unquote old guys are getting it done. Nadal's 3rd career major since turning 30. He's a 4th player to do that.
Yeah,
it would be Rod Laver, Ken Rosewall, and Roger Federer. So it's pretty impressive for the older guys. Yeah.
What are we going to do in tennis when we lose these 2 in Serena?
Yeah.
What are we going to do?
It's going to take a while. Mm-hmm. And that was sort of the void that happened when Sampras and Agassi left, and that spawned Federer and Nadal. Yeah. So hopefully the same thing will continue.
Give me another McEnroe.
Come on, there you go. Rafa Nadal was in the zone, by the way, at Roland Garros. In the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone. AutoZone. And congratulations. Right. Justify is about to live his best life. Mm-hmm. Defied the odds all the way to achieving the Triple Crown and thus achieving immortality. He was a late bloomer, won the 150th Belmont Stakes by a length and 3/4 on Saturday, leading the way to give the sport its 13th Triple Crown winner, the second in 4 years, but also the second in 40 years. That's the most important thing we're talking about here with Justify.
And really an incredible wire-to-wire here. A side story, Gronkowski, the horse, and Gronk was there. The way it started the race, dead last going, okay, they may put this horse down, before the race ends.
Oh, my God.
And I know that went a little harsh, but we're going to get to more of that in a second. And then ends up taking second. Pretty impressive. But the last Triple Crown from that spot, again, the number one post. Last time that happened 45 years ago, Secretariat. And by the way, did you see the note on Secretariat?
Oh, yeah.
And Justify?
Yeah.
Secretariat would have beaten Justify in this race by 25 lengths. By 25 lengths.
Yeah, there's a great Twitter account called Super Sports of the 70s that puts stuff out there, and they had the picture that happened at the wire, which was Secretariat was the only horse in the frame. He won the 1973 Belmont by 31 stakes, and somebody on Twitter said, "Well, are we in?" But that was against inferior, competition. Horses are bigger, faster, stronger. I said, "Hold up now." Secretariat won a 2:24 flat. 2 minutes, 24 seconds. Put another way, he would have beaten Justify by 4 seconds, which is 25 lengths.
It's unbelievable.
Secretariat is superhero of horses of all time.
9-figure stud fees this day and age, right? I mean, he'd be getting paid out the you-know-what for the you-know-what.
I want to get Brett in on this really quickly here about the highs and lows, how quickly it can change.
Yeah. Well, for an athletic career, there is no higher high than you have 3 competitions and then $75 million to have sex for the rest of your life.
Yep.
And no lower low than you suffer an injury and then shoot.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go.
There is no middle ground. I mean, there really is no middle ground there.
That's a high and a low right there.
Would you sign, if you were in human sports, would you sign up for those stakes if you knew what the payoff could be on the top end?
No.
One bad injury, they're going to put you down, but if you win a title, you get to retire and have sex and get paid for that for the rest of your life.
The bad thing is the horse doesn't have a choice.
No, that's awful.
I'm just saying it's something to think about.
No, it's not.
It isn't. As I said yesterday, congratulations to Justify, who now can retire to the glorious life of unlimited horse sex.
Unbelievable.
On Twitter. So
I bet Swaggy P would take that.
What was that, extra $15 million for this race?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So let me put it this way. The owners of Justify never have to work another day in their life. So congratulations.
And Justify's just got to work.
Whatever, man. I'm good. I'm over here eating this grass. Just let me know when it's time.
By the way,
just let me know when it's time.
We can talk all about the majesty in the 2 and 40 years of the Triple Crown. For me, 2 and 4 matters more than that. I am kind of the miser on that.
That's because you're a blinder. Well, you have your blinders on as a millennial. All you see is the current.
You have to pull in a bunch of unnecessary years in order to make your stat cool. I only need 4 years to make the proof on mine. So you tell me I'm a minimalist when it comes to this, but. Think about it. We've turned the Triple Crown into nothing more than a glorified vehicle to get us to horse sex. That tells you how important the Triple Crown is.
Can you imagine a horse like Justify and out hanging out, as you said, in the field, and
let me know when. I'm good.
And he sees the horse trailers come rolling on in.
Let's go.
All right.
Well, they said what did Marty Smith say when we had on Friday? As when Justify rolled into the stable, all the horses neighed like, "Here comes the king."
Yeah.
And at this point, he should have said, "Son, you have no idea."
Yeah.
Because you're whinnying now. You're whinnying now, but wait till you understand what happens to me after I come out there and kick your butt on this race.
You get a new dad soon.
And the most important thing maybe was the fact that it was in different conditions. I mean, he won the Kentucky Derby in slop.
Yep.
He won the Preakness in absolute slop. And this was the call down the stretch as Justify did it for just the second time in 40 years.
A 16th to go. Justify is still there. Justify from Gronkowski. He's just perfect. And now he's just immortal. Justify is the 13th Triple Crown winner. Gronkowski was second. Hoffberg was third. And Vino Rosso was fourth. Justify has done it.
That the call on Westwood 1, by the way. And again, I can't get into enough. Here comes Gronkowski.
I mean,
Gronkowski closing fast.
Did you see Gronk in the stand? You'd have thought he won the Triple Crown. And how cool that was. That's very neat, though, especially the way that horse started out.
Yeah, it's I would say the run by that horse was the most impressive part of that race. Great for Justify, but him going from dead last all the way up and walking it to second place was incredible. Impressive. Although now I can't get out of my mind the image of actual Gronk running after a horse on the track.
Well, by the way, isn't Gronk as the human sort of the epitome of what a Triple Crown winner is?
Oh boy, here we go.
I mean, he gets hurt or he's out there living his best life.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, this isn't that sort of the way this goes, right?
He would take my offer. If you told Gronk that,
he might.
Gronk is fearless because he knows there's no injury that can actually kill him, and he knows what the top end of that looks
like.
Not
going down that road.
Well, we sort of traveled down that road. We sort of been down that road, but
went
again,
through the barriers.
Congratulations to Justify. Where were you guys watching the race, by the way?
Home.
At home?
Yeah.
We were out at a local establishment, and I mean, yes, I know your point had happened 4 years ago with American Pharoah. The place was lit. I mean,
listen,
everyone was fired up.
But let's be honest. It wasn't as big as it was a couple of years ago. Of course
not.
I mean, it just wasn't.
No.
It wasn't. And I guess in my mind, it's already, I mean, we made the comparison to Russell Westbrook, but that's really what it was. We turn over news like this once the novelty has worn off it pretty quickly. And I saw that this weekend. I mean, the Triple Crown, albeit exciting in that moment.
Triple Clown, by the way.
It was a Triple
Just
Clown.
called it the Triple Clown.
Listen, I mean, we can get into that. The fact that Trey puts on white headphones and is just throwing lit around all willy-nilly
Let's
now.
Let's go, baby. Come on.
White headphone Trey is in the building here, but it just didn't have the same resonation for me this weekend. And it's because not a fault of the horse. It doesn't mean the accomplishment is any lesser, but the way that we consume things now, we would do this to anything. The Triple Crown's not unique to this. Russell Westbrook's not unique to this. So is it
getting harder and harder to please the sports fan?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's hard to please anything.
What's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Anything. Celebrate greatness.
But it is. We're not celebrating Russell's triple-double like we did last year.
Yeah, because he did the year before.
Yeah, that's it. I know, I get it.
I mean, we're celebrating the Capitals championship a lot more than we're going to celebrate Golden State's championship.
Well, that's an interesting question. What do you think was the best outcome of this weekend? Was it the fact that the Warriors have done it now 3 times in 4 years? Mm-hmm. Was it the continually drunk parade of Alex Ovechkin?
Unbelievable.
Who, by the way, going all in and doing what you should be doing when you finally win the Stanley Cup? Was it Rafa Nadal's continued excellence at the French Open? Or was it Justify? Where if you had to pick one of those things as being the thing,
the pinnacle of the weekend,
of the weekend, what would it be?
Good question.
I want an answer.
Okay, I'm going to think about it.
Yeah. I know my answer already. I don't know if it was one of those listed. Yeah.
What is it?
LeBron James punching that blackboard.
There's a whiteboard. No way there's a chalk
That's what I mean, right? There's no way there's chalk blackboards in any locker room anymore.
Well, that's like when we talk around the water cooler. Nobody talks around the water cooler. They instant message you on their computers at work.
That's a good point.
It's just another way of getting to the same thing. So you think that's the big one?
Yeah, that's the big one because it's going to have the biggest ramifications. I think what led to that moment is going to be one of the bigger factors in determining where he goes from here.
And I don't agree as far as the hand being broken because his hand could have been, had the glove with all the stones on it. It still wouldn't have mattered.
The Infinity Gauntlet?
Yeah, the Infinity Gauntlet.
The glove with all the stones. Yeah, he was thinking Michael Jackson.
All I could come with up that quick, okay? I didn't think about it long
Why don't you go ahead and get in the phone booth and do that live read?
Yeah, you know what you should really do? You should put on the white headphones. You'd see things a lot clearer.
I'm not going down your road.
White headphone trays DMing people on the sly right now.
Like this.
Water coolers, man.
Let's go.
That ain't hip. That ain't lit.
That's not the way it plays. Golic and Wingo, presented by Progressive Insurance. Small business protection just got easier with more than 30 coverage options available. Progressive has you covered. More at progressivecommercial.com. All right, coming up, we got a modern-day dynasty. A superstar did something that we would crush a role player for doing. We'll get into all of that after this, Mike.
2 kids in here now.
Yeah, baby, let's go.
What's up, boy?
Everybody in the club getting tips.
Okay, all right, turn his mic off. Turn his mic off. Right now.
Oh, my God.
Golic
and Wingo.
And Wingo.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Golic and Wingo with you on ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. All phone guests join us on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. Mike Golic Jr., Trey Wingo here. I feel like Cliff is trying to calm us down, and I don't know why. I'm trying to get hyped on a Monday, and maybe it's because of I'm wearing the white headphones, and he thinks we're a little too pinned. Yeah, but I feel like Cliff's trying to bring us down, man.
I haven't seen anybody
pump us up.
I haven't seen anybody rip you that they rip Mike for wearing the headphones. Some people actually think during the show Mike is listening to music.
Oh yeah,
with those headphones and not paying attention to what's going on in the show. That's hilarious.
Yeah, no, I've had to, and I've made this disclaimer before, but this is merely the same thing you're wearing, the same earpiece, so I can hear our producers talk in my ear, so I can hear the sound back. But yeah, everyone's like, what podcast you listening to during the show? So, Trey, if you're not getting any pushback from this, it really is the ultimate example of the first one through the wall is always going to take the shrapnel. I have fallen on this one for you, and I'm now letting you live in a post-headphoned world.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, I wasn't listening. What?
All right, there you
have it. That's exactly right.
I was watching and
listening
to a podcast.
Huh?
Yeah. Listen to a podcast, get things going. Oh, that's how we roll here. Okay, so we started this conversation last hour, and you knew it was going to push over a little bit. The LeBron James situation, where he admits or just comes out with that soft cast and says he'd broken his hand in Game 1 after the 51-point outburst where they had the J.R. Smith gaffe and the George Hill missed free throw. By the way, that sometimes gets lost in the equation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Make your free throws.
Yeah, and then maybe we're not having the conversation with J.R. Smith. He showed up in the post-game presser after he was swept in the finals, or the Cavs were swept in the finals, with that soft cast, and talked about it. And you made the point, Mike, that hey, if you've gone through the last 3 games, and however long the series goes, 17 days to play 4 games in the NBA Finals, why show up with the cast now? Why say, oh well, see, here this is, and because all you're doing is allowing people to say, yeah, I told you about that dude. And that's sort of where Tim Legler went with his analysis after the game.
I don't like the fact that it came out the way that it did because if you're going to keep it secret, and I see why, because of the circumstances under which it happened, it's embarrassing. You don't want anybody to know that you could have affected your team moving forward. I just feel like if you're going to keep it secret, then keep it secret forever. Let's just keep it quiet, because to me, to address that right after the game last night, I think even for LeBron, it's like you're giving him some sort of an excuse as to why this happened. And I don't think LeBron necessarily even wants that, but the information got put out there. I just would rather that not be something that even was talked about.
So I have to say this, so for Timmy to say that LeBron not necessarily wanting it. LeBron showing up at that presser with that soft cast on was going to bring this out.
Right.
It's not like anybody sitting there wasn't going to say, "Oh, LeBron, what's wrong with your hand?" Yeah. So it was going to come out, and I agree with Legs. I mean, I'm not sure why you bring it out. We brought up the hockey reference. A lot of times with the hockey guys, we find out months later, oh, yeah, by the way, he played in that Stanley Cup with a busted foot. Oh, by the way, this probably would have come out at some point.
Yep.
And again, are we making, something out of really nothing? It wasn't going to affect the outcome of this series.
And it didn't affect his play. Again, right. If you weren't with us last hour, games 2 through 4, he averaged 28 points a game, shot basically 49%, 50%. Only 3 of 11 from deep, didn't take a lot of threes, but averaged almost 11 assists and 9 boards a game.
So was this more about LeBron just kind of wanting people to know what the circumstance was and it had the story of punching the whiteboard? Because I don't know if there's a good or bad, but there's no doubt he knew LeBron knows everything that's going on. And he knew when he walked into that presser with that cast on, we were going to be that it was going to be asked about it, and this was going to come out.
And I'm also sure that he knew that Legler saying it would have been nice if we just didn't talk about this forever. It was going to leak sooner than later. This stuff gets out.
It's like the hockey stuff, where I said it comes out later.
Well, that doesn't usually. I mean, we look forward to almost every time after those Stanley Cup runs, those runs of, all right, what was so-and-so playing with right after? That usually comes out pretty closely after, at least as far as I've remembered. So that part I don't begrudge as much. But yeah, he wanted people to know that he was hurt. Yeah. It's Ben Roethlisberger syndrome, where you don't question the toughness of a guy, but you also understand that they're going to enjoy the fact that all right, look what I was playing through. Look in addition to already having to carry this team, look what else I did to have the degree of difficulty higher.
Let's put it this way. It's like showing up in suit shorts, okay? People are going to be talking about the suit shorts. You don't just think, I'm just going to walk in here with a coat and a tie and a dress shirt and short pants, and people will be like, no, that's normal.
Yeah.
I mean you knew when you put out there with a cast that it was going to be a topic of discussion.
Yeah, and the NBA, and fashion, certainly they're right up there at the top, and I'd love to be able to pull off the shorts.
Oh, you could. I've seen your legs. I've seen your legs.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah, you wore shorts to work on Friday.
That's true, I did, because they had a cookout.
There you go. Actually, that was barbecue more than cookout.
Barbecue, right.
See, that's a hill that Herm Edwards will die on.
Yeah.
The distance between cookout and barbecue. Cookout is burgers and hot dogs. Barbecue is what we had at your place.
Which was barbecue.
That's correct. By the way, that LeBron injury is literally what everyone's been talking about for the last few days. What everybody's talking about is brought to you by Lowe's. Pros in the know. Start with Lowe's. Go to lowesforpros.com for details. I love that reading.
I know you do.
I don't know why.
I know you do.
I always feel like I'm from Baltimore when I say that.
So, we'll talk about that injury, but then we're going to talk about where LeBron's going to end up. That's going to be the focus of the next few weeks, months, however long it's going to take.
Which to me are kind of linked, right? Like, you broke LeBron James this season, more or less. The frustration that we saw on the sideline, even for LeBron James, who is pretty demonstrative in his reactions, even for him, that was so out of character that we all spent days diagramming it. For LeBron James to haul off and punch a blackboard, you're not going to convince me that was just J.R. Smith's blunder there and that realization. That was frustration from an entire season. That was frustration with the organization and the point that they were at, all finally getting to a point where he couldn't take that anymore. And if you're telling me that doesn't factor into how we now approach this offseason and his decision-making, I think that's a little bit misguided.
I agree. I think that was the frustration of him knowing we had a chance that if we had won game 1, I could leave here with another championship and be a hero. And now, I think most people in this season and this series have realized how good he is and what he was playing with. So I don't think that's going to change much. But the fact that he could have gifted maybe the city one more championship and then rode out on the white stallion or a unicorn on a rainbow bed, would have been the way to go. But now that leads us to the next thing, is what happens next. And we all know we've been through this twice. In 2010 with a decision where he took his talents to South Beach, and then a few years later coming back to Cleveland. One thing I think that Brian Windhorst, our fine NBA insider, says with great certainty is do not expect this to be a drawn-out process like it has been in the past before.
If there is trust between Dan Gilbert and LeBron James, they could perhaps come to an agreement on what to do with that number 8 pick, who to select or who to trade it for. But because there is no trust and because there hasn't been a foundation laid, the Cavs are going to go blind. And in 2010, they went blind and got burned. And Dan Gilbert will not allow that again. He is going to make this offseason maneuvers with the belief that LeBron is not going to come back until he's told he is. And that may shorten the window with LeBron James here in Cleveland. That's a decision that Dan Gilbert made, and LeBron played a role in.
All right, so then the question becomes, how long before we know where he's going? What do you think the over-under is on how much this is going to play out over the next few weeks?
Well, I mean, what, July 1st? Is that when they can start talking to him? And now Cleveland can do something before that, but July 1st, I mean, is this going to be like a Kevin Durant? I'm not saying, that LeBron's going to the Hamptons and everybody's going to meet in there, but as quick as that was done on July 4th. So just a couple of days after you could start talking to him. Obviously, this is something from our standpoint we'd love to drag out, but from everybody else's standpoint, you'd love this thing to be over sooner rather than later.
And I think LeBron would too. I mean, he's a 33-year-old man now who I think is going to look at this decision a little differently. That's why it was interesting to hear Dwayne Wade come out and talk about this is going to be more of a lifestyle pick for LeBron James. He knows that he can take any team to where they need to go. So that's a guy who, and Dad, you know this, if you're talking to someone who is involved in a story, if you're talking to a player who's currently in the league and you're saying something after that that's indicative of that conversation, it usually reflects some of that information you've got in there. Unless Dwayne Wade is running counterintelligence right now, you have to imagine that this statement comes from a place of he's had this conversation with LeBron James, who's one of his close friends. This to me is a bit of a window into what might be part of the decision-making process.
As I've always talked about with free agents, whether it's players or coaches, you have your reasons for going somewhere, geography, championship money, whatever it may be. So for LeBron James, only LeBron James knows that. But I'll continue to say this. I still think he wants to win championships, but he has a lot more to look at than the last move in 2010 to 2018. Kids.
Yeah, he's got life issues.
Got a high school kid, and one of the best basketball players out there at his age without question, but other kids as well in school to now move them. The one thing I will continue to say and stand by, and this is just my opinion, I do not believe there's a move to LA for the entertainment industry.
No.
I don't buy that part of it. You want to talk about family decisions to move, where you're going to go from a team aspect to win championships. I definitely get all that. As far as he's going to go to the Lakers or end up in LA for the entertainment industry, I don't buy that because it's LeBron James. I mean, he doesn't need to be in LA to be involved in that industry. I mean, that's just my opinion.
No, I think you're right. I mean, look, he is LeBron James, a universal figure in Akron. Okay, that's where he lives, in Akron. Or in Cleveland, so I don't think now he may want to live in L.A. just to live in L.A.
Exactly.
Maybe it's a better spot for his kids out there.
Yes,
we've heard all the stuff about them. Does he value his sons maybe going to St. Vincent, St. Mary in Ohio where he went to high school, or would he rather put them in a more competitive environment in California? Those are things that could be very real factors with that geography.
That I agree completely.
And then the entertainment part it gets to be an added bonus. It can be an ancillary player.
But it's not going to be the driving force in any way, shape, or form. To that point, by the way, about the hand, our fine researcher, Brett, has come up with these numbers. Average field goal attempt distance. In Game 1, it was 12.5 feet. In Game 2, it was 10 feet. Game 3, it was 9 feet, and in Game 4, it's 4.7. In other words, he was trying to get to the rim a little better. Maybe that's one way the hand affected him.
Watching Game 3 especially, I remember saying LeBron's jump shot looked way off, and that was sort of the last ditch. That was the game that we thought they were going to win. The Cavs go back home, you get in this spot, and LeBron James' jumper looked off in a way it hadn't for most of the playoffs. And he'd waxed and waned as far as his jump shot's viability in later years, but this year it had been pretty consistent. I remember that game thinking, man, it looks off this game, so maybe that started to overtime in this. We're never going to know the extent.
No, we're not, because you just go to the Indiana series when the Pacers won the first game, and it was Game 2 of that series without a broken hand. What did LeBron do? Just drove to the basket all the time. He lived in the paint, so who knows? Only LeBron knows how much that hand affected him.
And I'm certainly at some point this offseason or heading into next season, we'll get a deeper dive into that, but there are other fish for him to fry right now. As for the idea of the mindset of where he is and what he wants to do and how much all these things shape his perception, not many people or players in the league know LeBron better than his former Miami Heat teammate and for a while his Cleveland Cavalier teammate in Dwayne Wade. And this is what Dwayne Wade had to say about LeBron's future on Chris and Karen with Chris Mannix and Karan Butler on Fox Sports Radio. Quote, to me, I don't think it's a basketball thing. Obviously, you saw this year he could get to the finals no matter what the circumstances are. I don't really think for him the basketball decision is saying, oh, let me go team up with 3 All-Stars. I think at this point in his life, it's more so of a lifestyle thing of where my family is going to be the most comfortable, where I'm going to be the happiest at. Because basketball-wise, he's so great, he can bring along and take along whomever. And I do think that's part of the narrative with LeBron that has changed this season and this postseason run. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. To me, this is like Michael Jordan dragging along the pre-Scottie Pippen Bulls to an NBA Finals, which he was never able to do because he had to have that other guy. LeBron dragged these guys to the finals.
But again, if we're talking about our lifestyle, I know people are talking about the West. He's not going to the West and dragging a team to the finals through Golden State. I mean, right?
Yeah.
Unless maybe it's Houston. You know, that could, San Antonio could be a destination where you could do it, but we keep talking about the lifestyle in California. He's not taking the Lakers. He's not going to the, again, my opinion, he's not going to the Lakers and beating Golden State. It's not happening.
He was close to make. We call this the most competitive sweep in NBA Finals history. He almost got this Cavaliers team to beat them. Whoever he puts together around him in Los Angeles, if we're to even take the parts that they've got now with Lonzo Ball and Kyle Kuzma, and we do the eventuality and say they add Paul George, is that team not better than the Cavaliers team from this year?
That team is better, but you're playing in Houston, or you're playing in the West against Houston. Against
I understand
Golden
that, but
State.
if you get in a series against Golden State, that team with LeBron James and a better group around him doesn't have a chance to beat Golden State in the Western Conference.
No, I don't think so. Absolutely not.
There's more, and you know what? There's more upside to it, and you're going to tell me again, he almost won game 1. We were close in game 2. Like, this was a guy that almost made this a series with a bad team around him, and if you make a better team around him, I don't know, to me, there's upside, there's potential in that. There's hope that he doesn't have in Cleveland.
There's potential, but I guess in my opinion, he can go to a team that's better equipped to actually win a championship, which I do think is still important to him.
Which would be in the East.
Should be in the East, or would be Houston or Philadelphia, one of those teams.
Here's the other thing that's interesting in this. And look,
but Houston, money-wise, might be very tough to do.
Correct. Yeah. Here's the other thing is we're talking about this, Golic and Wingo here, about what LeBron is going to do and when we'll find out. We believe it'll probably be inside of a month that we know exactly where he's going to be. The other issue that we're all assuming here, and it's easy to do this because we've seen it 4 straight years, teams just don't go to 5 straight finals. I mean, that just doesn't happen because of attrition. It's a little different, obviously, in football because there's a lot more. It's collisions, not contact.
Yeah,
NBA is a contact sport. Football's a collision sport. But we're all assuming that once again, Golden State will be able to do this. And Steve Kerr just alluded to it. We played the soundbite that he had with Scott Van Pelt, that it is difficult. And this was the most difficult of the 4 years to get to the finals. Look, things just don't always happen. I mean, the trees don't grow to the sky. You know, it's at some point, this train in Golden State is going to stop, and it's going to get more difficult every year as the older they get and the more games they play and the attrition that goes along with it. It's really simple right now to say, well, they're going to keep doing this. I don't know. I don't know how long they're going to be able to do it.
Let me ask you one question.
Sure.
I'm going to take one of your paychecks, and I'm going to say, Trey, you have to bet it on
You're not taking any of my paychecks.
You have to bet it on Golden State making the finals or another team in the West making the finals. What are you doing?
Oh, I would still lean toward Golden State. All I'm saying is they're still the favorite, but there's every year the Patriots were a favorite this year, and a backup quarterback with a Philadelphia scrappy team somehow found a way to beat them. It happens. Yeah. This thing just doesn't always go on like we think it's always going to go on.
No, this year is kind of the argument against that because Golden State was injured this year pretty often. They were apathetic pretty often.
Got taken to 7 by Houston.
They got taken to 7 by Houston, and that's the argument for, is you say, well, Houston got close, and that Houston team, it sounds like Chris Paul and them had that handshake agreement where this contract is likely going to get done there, barring anything unforeseen. So if you keep that core together, you've got something interesting that could potentially push Golden State. And then for LeBron James, I'm curious because we all keep saying the East. Do we think he's going to stay in Cleveland?
I don't. I'd love him. Believe me, I would love him to.
I get that, but you don't think he's going to stay in Cleveland?
Listen, his whole thing is to win a championship. If he stays in Cleveland with all the guaranteed contracts, now you can do some trades. I get it, but it's basically $5.5 million is what they can offer somebody. So I don't know. I don't know where you can build this to anymore without going to Philadelphia. But again, can they work that out? But I would love to see him stay in Cleveland, but I highly doubt he's going to.
Well, why don't we listen to LeBron himself?
Okay.
This is what LeBron was saying.
I made the move in 2010 to be able to, play with talented players, cerebral players, that you could see things that happen before they happen on the floor, and your teammate can do the same. Throughout the course of a season, throughout the course of a game, throughout the course of a playoffs, throughout the course of the finals. So when you feel like you're really good at your craft, I think it's always great to be able to be around other great minds as well, and other great ball players in my instance, and other great studies of the game itself. So that's never changed. Even when I came here, in 14, I want to try to surround myself and surround this franchise with, great minds and guys that actually think outside the box of the game and not just go out and play it.
So it sounds to me like he's saying I'm not staying in Cleveland.
To me, two of the biggest sound bites we've heard out of LeBron is that one, and when he was talking about how good Golden State was and the reasons that they were good. And both those sound bites are reasons and are issues that he doesn't have in Cleveland. He doesn't. How many NBA analysts are going to come out and say, man, that's not a high IQ team? But Barkley going is one of the dumbest teams around. I mean, and you hear those quotes from LeBron. To me, forgetting everything else, those couple of comments about IQ of why I went to Miami and about Golden State tell me why I think he wants to move on to get around other players that are closer to him in basketball IQ.
So the last time we did this with LeBron, the decision, was Miami, and anyone in the room could speak up on this, was Miami one of the teams that we thought LeBron James was really seriously going to go to? Was that something that was...
Oh, yeah.
That was
Wade and Bosh were actively campaigning for him.
But that was like a top five that was in the grouping.
Because they had all played together at the Olympics. They bonded.
Let's all go together to Miami.
I'm only asking that because right now the choices all seem really obvious, right? Like, if you're talking about staying in the East and we're writing off Cleveland at this point, it's Philadelphia or it's Boston. Like, there aren't two other teams that meet those criteria.
Kyrie would love that.
I don't think it's Boston because of the Kyrie.
So then it's Philadelphia or bust. Like, it rarely seems like these things are this obvious.
It's Cleveland
right?
or Philadelphia. Occam's razor, right?
Well, yeah. They say if you're going to whittle that down, and if you're talking about his standards, there's one place that applies then, and that's Philadelphia that falls into that. So is it really that simple? Is it this cut and dry? I mean, are we thinking Greg Popovich is going to let this slide that easily? Are we thinking it's going to be this simple? Because right now it seems too simple.
If in the East, I think it's simple. But then the question becomes...
The West. Houston, how about LaMarcus Aldridge, Kawhi Leonard, and LeBron James on San Antonio?
Not too shabby.
What is that?
That's what I mean, but you're still in the Western Conference.
Right. But it's a better... Let me ask you this.
An interesting word.
Yeah, that's the one.
So let me ask you this. Of these three available, which has the best chance of beating Golden State? Rank them. If he went to Houston with the players that are there. And again, money's going to play
a stretch money-wise.
It is definitely a stretch. Houston, San Antonio, the Lakers. The Lakers is third there.
San Antonio.
We know, right?
San Antonio by far.
The Lakers is third. San Antonio, it's if Kawhi Leonard. If you convince him to come back.
Well, that's the whole thing. Yeah. I'm saying it's not going to happen unless you can corral those players together because that's what we're looking for here.
But let's be honest about one thing here. I agree with you. I think Philadelphia seems to make the most sense in the Eastern Conference, and they've already started the campaign. Remember when he went back there? They said complete the process, come here. But when you hear him talk about basketball minds.
Yeah.
The first name that comes to mind is Greg Popovich every time, right? Every time. That's that guy, unless you're going to try and somehow find your way onto the Golden State squad and what Steve Kerr's been able to do with those guys. When you hear basketball mind from him time and time again, Greg Popovich is the first thing that pops into my brain.
Golic.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night, no doubt about it.
And Wingo.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Next. You're holding up the line, ma'am.
What did you say?
You're next in line for the water slide, ma'am. Feet forward and enjoy the ride.
Okay, dearie. This does look fun. Whee-oh! You melted me. I've melted.
The Wicked Witch of the West on a water slide? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
See what you've done. Oh!
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
American Pharoah, the Triple Crown winner in 2015, is living the life.
I'm just reading from this article. Yeah. He'll have sex up to 3 times a day. And the quote is, they enjoy it quite a bit. He now commands $200,000 per cover.
Beforehand and afterward, there's not much room for cuddling, foreplay, or breakfast.
$200,000? No cuddling, no nothing? No licking, no nuzzling, no cuddling?
Just call her an Uber.
I mean, come on.
Devin, in my ear, just says, we're back here Googling horse sex jokes.
Okay.
Go ahead and read the joke you found.
Stable relationships are for horses.
That is SportsCenter, brought to you by Straight Talk Wireless. Let me tell you what, we missed a golden opportunity to ask Jerry Bailey. Not enough people talk about. Is there jockey sex for a Triple Crown winner?
Oh. Come on.
Turn your
Thank you. Thank you.
Professional.
That's the third time this morning. Crying out loud.
Keeping count, huh?
Yes, because we're the pettiest show in America.
I say you guys trying to railroad my jockey sex joke with that kind of tomfoolery. When we grow up, all right? Okay. That was Straight Talk. To win in basketball, you got to play great coverage, right? With Straight Talk Wireless, you know you're getting great coverage because they use the exact same 4G LTE towers as the big carriers, but for a lot less. Straight Talk Wireless only at Walmart. Refer to terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
All right, Golic and Wingo here with you, and don't forget to miss Warriors coach Steve Kerr with Zach Lowe on Monday evening's Low Post podcast. Find it on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you find your podcasts. So we've been talking a lot about what happens with LeBron this hour and this morning, and also what went on with the horse race and the Triple Crown over the weekend. One thing that we haven't talked enough about is, unfortunately, it could be the end of the road for our guy.
I want you to show the way.
Angels pitcher / hitter / everything Shohei Ohtani's got a grade 2 sprain of his UCL. He'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. The team said the rookie right-handed pitcher had a platelet-rich plasma and stem cell injection on Thursday after complaining of elbow stiffness a day early. The GM Bailey Epler said, we're hopeful he can avoid Tommy John surgery, that this is completely treatable with the biological prescriptions that the doctors recommend. But, Mike, you hear Tommy John, and you know that if it goes down that road, we may not see him for a while.
That's exactly right. Grade 2, again, grade 3 is a complete tear. And that's the rarity, by the way, to completely tear the thing. A lot of it is operation off of grade 2. A lot of bands in that UCLA. Some have torn. They'll decide. The PRP, again, is the blood spinning where you get the injection. The platelets have what they call growth factors in it to help the healing. Stem cells, your own stem cell, you spin and inject into the area for healing as well. It's a possibility he could still hit. If they wanted to not have the surgery, he could still bat because he bats lefty, and they say that on that right elbow would be less strain with that lead arm. But obviously, if he had the surgery, he'll be out a while.
Well, to that point, Pedro Gomez, our fine reporter, said last night on Dickerson and Hood on ESPN Radio, not only is it likely this way, but if it goes down that way, we may not see him for a long, long time.
At this point, judging by the people I've talked to, it does not look good. It would be almost a minor miracle if he is able to resume pitching this year. The belief is that it may very well be Tommy John surgery. And if it is, let's not forget we're already in June. It's about a 15-month recovery period. So that means he's not going to pitch the rest of this season or, in all likelihood, any of next season as well. So we would not see him again until 2020.
Well, you want to talk about a buzzkill.
Yeah, others have made it off the treatment, though. Tanaka is through
Masahiro Tanaka. Stefania Bell is one of our injury experts here, put a great article up on ESPN.com that kind of details a lot of the points. And that was one of the things she tried to say is that with this PRP therapy, with the stem cell therapy, and then the subsequent rehab off that now, there have been guys that have come back without the surgery. It's about, I think they did the stats on it. I saw this on Stats and Info this morning. About 48%. There have been 33 cases of this, and I think 16 have ended in Tommy John surgery.
But here's the other side of it is pitchers just get shut down and see if it can heal.
Correct.
Do you keep him out there to hit? He can still add that part to your team.
Well, that goes to what do you believe his long-term future is? Do you think he's going to be a future ace in your rotation or a guy that you will spot start when you need him and then have him swing the bat? Because that it becomes a philosophical question.
You know what he is? He's the future of your organization. Yeah. So you guard that. You don't take any of those unnecessary risks.
And if this is the end of him for a while, then you know what? He hit more homers 6 than he gave up 5.
That's true.
So congratulations to him.
Golic and Wingo.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold. It's very interesting where that went.
We are the pettiest show in America.
Yeah, we really are.
We really are. Golic and Wingo, ESPN Radio and ESPN News, presented by Progressive Insurance. That's Jimmy Buffett's classic cheeseburger in paradise.
Yeah, it's about to get serious right now.
Because we have breaking news. And I don't know how to deal with what I've just learned. I'm trying to soak it in right now so I can formulate an opinion that doesn't sound like an epic rant of what the hell were you thinking. But that's sort of where I am.
Yeah.
Last week, IHOP, International House of Pancakes,
yes,
did a little flip from a P to a B with their logo. and they say results will tell you what this means later.
Everybody, what's the B going to stand for? Everybody had their thoughts.
Yeah, we thought International House of Bagels.
Bagels, bacon, breakfast.
Bacon. No, Mike.
No, it wasn't.
They went, and they are going now,
Yeah.
International House of Burgers.
Burgers. And they are getting destroyed by it for that change. Now, let's set the table a little bit, not just have a quick knee-jerk reaction to say, why did they change IHOP in the first place?
Yeah.
And the reason they did, again, International House of Pancakes, pancake sales has been somewhat flat or down.
Sure.
In a more health-conscious Western society that we have right now.
Correct.
It's been a little more healthy eating, and pancakes
fewer carbs
with syrup and whipped
butter.
cream and butter haven't really been hitting the mark. So they wanted to spruce that up a little bit and change it up. So I can understand that. From that part of it, you don't maybe want to associate with a product being pancakes of something that isn't really a hit nowadays. All right? So, okay, I can go with that. So you want to do the big flip to a B. I get it. You're going to change things up a little bit, shake it up. But I would have gone with, now they didn't ask me, I would have gone International House of Breakfast.
Yes.
And here's why not burgers. Do we think now, and I guess they're going to try and make themselves compete, but people are going to go to IHOB for a burger when all these other great burger places are already established out there, that you're going to say, let's go to IHOB instead for a burger? I would have gone breakfast, and I would have changed up my menu to make it more health conscious with your breakfast and even your lunches, whatever you want to do, but go down that road. Own breakfast. They owned that part of it. Change that part of it up. Be more health conscious. Don't go into an area in burgers where you're starting at the bottom of the barrel.
Look, that's exactly right. If you're a Five Guys guy, are you going to suddenly switch to IHOB? If you're an In-N-Out guy, are you going to finally, we'll just bail on that and go to IHOB? I think the burger market is well established.
Yeah.
The choices are many, and many of them are awesome. This seems like a very, very difficult dive into a deep end of the water.
I agree.
Where they have very little experience. In fact, it's got people so angry.
Oh, boy.
Someone who is no longer working, his workday is over.
Yeah.
And he has to weigh in on this. Junior is back with us on the phone. Junior, when you heard it's IHOB for International House of Burgers, did you drive into a bridge abutment?
Trey, seething is the word right now. And I've gone through a lot of stages of grief already. First off, IHOB. Never going to stick. This is like the new dad after divorce. I'm not calling you dad. You're IHOP to me still. You're never going to be IHOP. I'm never calling you dad. Second off, my anger at first was directed at IHOP. And then I sat here and thought about it. And I read that article that you guys referenced, and I realized it's my fault. It's my fault. It's my formerly fat family's fault. It's America's fault. We pushed them to the brink of extinction. We forced this, and we have no one to blame but ourselves. And I'm disgusted. I'm disgusted because I have to wear this. Think about when the last time you ate at an IHOP was. You probably don't know when it was. So we forced them to do this right now. We chose our own bodies and our own well-being over something and someone that took care of us for years, and we should all be ashamed of ourselves.
Okay, but here's where I'm going to disagree. I agree with that part of it. We're all starting to eat healthier, but they still had the ability to do that. They could have went IHOB and gone, because I get the whole marketing thing, put the spotlight back on us and go B, but for breakfast, and then stress we're going to offer these healthy breakfast options for everybody out there to stick with kind of what's going on today. They had a chance. They still had a chance to save this thing. Now they're also ran. Now they're bottom of the barrel. Now who's going to IHOP for a burger? So I think they could have saved it, Mike, by going breakfast instead and then offering those healthier versions.
That doesn't make waves, Dad. That doesn't make waves. And again, we put them in a spot. We as a modern society force them into this position. So I'm not going to fault them for having to go out to last-ditch effort. They're scrambling because you know what they were? They were an establishment. They mattered here, and we, through our actions, through our selfishness, through us choosing our chiseled abs and our avocado toast and our health and our long lives over syrup and butter and things that are good, we made them feel like they didn't matter anymore, and so they acted out of turn. And you know what? I can't fault them for that anymore. So we can go with our Monday morning quarterback day after the fact thinking now, but the fact is they got pushed to the brink, and they understand that no one's going to read all of those words that you just said. Oh, we're going to do breakfast. We're going to be be more health conscious. No, you got to slap them over the face with burgers now, and then you fill them in with the details. It's like the NFL. You roll out headlines, and then you worry about the details later.
All right, Junior, I understand that, but let me ask you a very pointed question, because I know you, and you're a burger connoisseur. Are you going to now go to IHOP for your burgers, or are you going to stick with what you know?
Trey, I'm not going to lie, I'm a little curious. I thought about this because I got angry at first, and I said, what is IHOP doing? I thought the same thing you did. The burger market's saturated. We have known players in that area. You had your space. At the same time, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little bit curious right now. And am I more likely to go to IHOP than I normally was? Probably. So maybe they're already accomplishing their mission. Maybe curiosity is enough to bring people back, because we were all stagnant. We had IHOP in its role, and we never really used it anymore. We only brought that tool out of the belt in case of emergency, and now we're at least thinking about them again. So maybe that's already enough of what they were looking for.
Well, that only works if it's the greatest burger you've ever tasted.
See, that's the thing. I agree, Mike, with what you're saying. That'll get you there.
They'll get a bump.
Is it going to be better than In-N-Out? Is it going to be better than Five Guys? One of my favorite from fast food is Wendy's. Is it going to be better than Steak and Shake? Is it going to be? And I mean, that's what everybody's going to do, because everybody's had that kind of burger. So if that IHOP burger isn't at least equal or better than that, that will be the first then the last time they go in that place for a burger.
You're judging it the wrong way. They've just got to be better than what they were before.
That's not it at all. No, they've got to be better than every other burger option out there.
Guys, that's not true. They just have to get more people coming into stores than were coming in before, and it sounds like sales were not trending in the right direction. So if this gives them any uptick, they're still not going to be competing in the pantheon of burger places. They're competing with IHOP of past. Your best competition is who you were yesterday, and that's where IHOP's going.
Listen, this
we're going to disagree on that.
Yeah, this has the makings of New Coke in the 1980s when they came up with New Coke, and some people still swear to this day it was a marketing ploy to boost sales of the original Coke. No. It was an epic disaster.
It was.
And they finally said, we're punting and bringing back the original Coke. We'll see. Look, all right. All the best to IHOB in their quest. I don't see this ending very well.
Golic family lunch at IHOB coming up soon.
Can't wait.
All right, later.
Thanks, Junior.
I don't agree with that, because to be a little better than IHOP is floundering right now.
Correct.
So if you're a little
Flounder less, that's not a good thing.
A little bit better, you're floundering a little less than that. Yeah. They have put themselves in the burger market.
They have.
And
that's
I think
the deepest pool there is.
So if they don't change up that breakfast menu and just try and get into the burger world, they're dead.
Here's their chief marketing officer, Brad Haley. One of the very first things we did was to gauge people awareness of our burgers. The awareness was quite low, I'd say. Yes, because you're a pancake place, and that's what you built your establishment on. And now you're going to say, everyone come check out our burgers?
Yeah.
Look, I hope it works for them. Honestly, I wish nothing but the best.
Yeah, me too.
For IHOB, however you want to do it. I just see this as a very slippery slope. In fact, everyone is weighing in on this. Mm-hmm. Everyone. Including the man who cares more about everything than I care about anything, Stephen A. Smith.
If you go to a restaurant to get some steak, some filet mignon, and instead you get a burger, okay, ain't it a burger? I mean, it's just a burger.
That actually was from the other day, but it seemed to fit perfectly well.
It really did.
And again, he cares more about everything than I care about anything. It's amazing.
I get the shakeup. I get the shakeup. I really do. Yeah. But you know what? Make it breakfast. Have some avocado toast.
Exactly.
You know, with the egg on it. Go down that road. You can still serve your burgers and such. You're jumping in. Yeah. You know what you are? You're a toddler in that area of burgers, and you're jumping feet first into the deep end.
Yeah, I agree.
Don't see it happening.
You're swimming with the sharks now.
Yeah, you are.
And by the way, the burger wars on Twitter, very good between Wendy's and some of the other places and McDonald's. So be prepared.
Golic and Wingo.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
All right, we got to get into this. First of all, I'm calling it Wendy's. I need to hear from you on Twitter.
Yeah,
you guys have clapped back a lot about other burger places. Yep. I need to hear your response to the International House of Burgers. Wendy's, don't disappoint me. Let's go. Speaking of not disappointed, we're getting a bonus breademology. For the uninitiated, Wednesdays at 7:45, we do breademology. Our researcher comes up with the origin of phrases, and then he makes up a fake one. Mm-hmm. We have to figure out whether the fake one is the fake one and which one is real. Now, this is a little different breademology here, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit different. We'll play it the normal way, but there's just the one phrase.
One phrase. We have to decide what the origin is?
Yeah, you have to decide. I'll give you two, and you can decide.
Okay. And what spawned this?
I was looking up.
It's horse sex, isn't it? It's horse sex that spawned this, right?
It's horse sex.
Okay.
It is.
Just want to make
there
sure.
we go.
We just want to get that in the clear. Where we all are this morning.
All
right, here we go.
So, Jerry Bailey probably thinks that, we'll start. The phrase itself.
Okay.
Upset in sports.
Upset.
Okay. Just the word upset.
Just the word upset and how it's used in the sporting world.
Okay.
So Jerry Bailey, we talked to him earlier, he did not think that Secretariat was the greatest horse ever.
Right.
He probably thinks that Man O' War was the greatest horse ever.
Okay. Seabiscuit beat Man O' War in a match race, just saying.
That was War Admiral?
That was War Admiral, sorry, my bad.
Man O' War won 20 of his 21 career races. Let's talk about the only loss. Saratoga, 1919. And this may be how the word upset entered the American sports lexicon. In a hotly contested outcome, where the horses were reportedly not lined up properly at the start, Man O' War finished second by a neck against a horse named Upset.
Very nice.
Sports writers would then say someone pulled an upset, which is how the term came to have a meaning in sports. Fun fact about Man O' War, he figures prominently in the bloodlines of Triple Crown winners American Pharoah and Justify.
There you go.
Or
has
one of the definitions of upset always meant the act of throwing something into a state of disorder, including the unexpected outcome of an event.
I'm going to go with the second one because the first one makes too much sense.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the second one as well.
It's the second one.
There you go.
There we go.
By the way, now we're doing this. The phrase "So long, Charlie" came from the match race between War Admiral and Seabiscuit. The name of the jockey on War Admiral was Charlie, and he looked at him and said, "So long, Charlie," and took off, and Seabiscuit went on to win that race.
Brett, how do you feel about Trey throwing in some extra stuff like that, taking your shine?
Well, Trey always does that. I'm used to it.
That's true.
But I will say the first story is true. The horse named Upset did beat Man O' War, but the term had already had its meaning.
That was awesome. All right, what else you got?
That was it.
Was it just the one? I was so disappointed. I thought there was going to be at least two.
I told you at the very beginning.
Yeah,
one term. Golic gets it.
You told him at the very beginning. He told you one term. That was it.
Yeah, I feel bad.
Yeah? You kind of sold this like it was going to be a regular Brettomology segment.
I just thought, no, regular Brettomology is 4.
Yeah.
So I thought.
But he said he was straight up from the beginning. We're going to get 1.
Yeah. I wasn't. I was listening to my podcast.
Oh.
I was listening to my podcast.
What? You're thrown for the old this thing now. One thing IHOP is getting is a ton of attention,
publicity, yes.
which was a big part of the name change. But they have, along with the name change, it's a philosophy change, and that's what we have the issue with of where they're going with burgers instead of breakfast.
You can get the pub, but if the quality isn't there after the pub, it doesn't matter.
Well, that's my thought. If you are just going to make you can obviously you still serve the breakfast or the lunch and dinner food. You can make that as healthy as you like as well. But you're known for breakfast. You were a king in that state,
yes.
And I understand it's gone flat with the whole pancake thing. But if you could have still kept in that genre,
your milieu,
right, and say, okay, we'll have avocado toast, and all that.
We'll have
along with our other
oatmeal
stuff.
with
you can have your choices, but we'll have a healthier version. I think it would have been better because to my son came on and was visibly upset at this. Yeah, I do agree. You're going to go in and try it, but you already have in your mind what your top 5 burgers are. Yeah. And if IHOB doesn't knock those off, you're not going back for a burger.
Again,
and if you haven't updated your breakfast menu, then you're not going back for breakfast either.
Again, I think when all else fails, like in most situations, Stephen A. Smith sums it up perfectly. Stephen A. Smith sums it up perfectly.
If you go to a restaurant to get some steak, some filet mignon, and instead you get a burger. Okay, ain't it a burger? I mean, it's just a burger.
I can't say it any better than that.
Yeah, you really can't.
Again,
that had nothing to do with IHOP.
Nothing. He has a skill set that I think he's as rare as the Triple Crown winners. The skill set that he has to elicit that much emotion and passion about everything, dude, kudos to you.
Impressive.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. You can listen or subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, or just ask your smart speaker to play Golic and Wingo. Plus, you can check the guys out live weekday mornings from 6 to 10 Eastern on ESPN Radio and on ESPN News.